Hey, how's it going, everybody? Today we're going to be installing some floating shelves over this tile backsplash that I put up the other day. I'm going to go ahead and show you guys how to set those up where they're evenly spaced on your wall. I'll show you the product that I'm using and the one that I recommend. I'm also going to be displaying how to drill through tile and the type of anchors that I like to use to ensure that my shelves are going to be as strong as possible. So hopefully this helps you guys if you're a DIYer trying to put some floating shelves in your house and add a little bit of flair to it or a little bit of style. These things are super cool. I think they're really nice and it's going to dress this area up a lot. I have two different areas that I'm going to be installing these shelves. I've got this wet bar area, and then I have a smaller area over the sink in between some cabinets that'll have some like minimalist kitchen kind of design with two shelves right there. I'm going to show you those shelves first because they're essentially the same exact system, but you have a bracket like this that will get mounted to your wall. And then when you mount that, there's a couple holes in the back of the floating shelf that you're going to be using, and it simply just slides in like that. So a couple questions that you're going to probably be asking is, what kind of hardware should I use? How do I go about laying them out on the wall? And how am I going to make this install look professional? So I'll show you guys a couple quick steps that I take to getting my layout correct as far as the break on the wall, what I think about when I'm doing it, and I'll show you the hardware that I'm going to use also. In my situation, I have to mount over tile, so I have to drill into tile. That could be a little bit of a challenge if you don't know the proper tools to use. So the very first thing I want to show you is I will be using this diamond hole saw, and it is just that. It's a kind of diamond coated head that with a little bit of water, you will hold it on an angle and drill your hole through your tile carefully. And they make very nice holes and minimal chips if you do it properly and you take your time when you're doing it. Now, the type of anchors that I'm going to be using are these 1/4-inch toggle bolts. Now, these are rated up to 265 pounds on drywall, which is kind of hard to imagine, but I rarely use the anchors that come with these systems. They're kind of little dinky anchors. I would recommend going ahead, getting yourself some of these toggles, and essentially all they are is you're going to put your hole in the wall, and you'll hold this thing like so. You'll put it through the hole, and then it has like this little grip on the end that you could slide, and you'll open it up, and it's got this little piece of plastic that you'll pull tight to the drywall, and it'll hold that bracket behind the drywall tight for you. And then you've just got your screw or bolt that's going to go into the anchor. So I love these. I think that they're the best option when doing something like this because you want something you know is going to hold. If it's as strong as the drywall behind it, it's pretty good. If you have the option to throw blocking in, by all means, put blocking in the wall, and that will definitely give you a much easier install, but I didn't have that option in here, so I'm gonna work with what I got, and I'm gonna use these toggle bolts. Very first thing I wanna go over is the layout. How are we gonna break this on this wall so it looks the best? If you have no obstructions all the way to your ceiling, I would recommend just measuring from top to bottom, getting your total measurement. And then when you're dividing, you want to divide by one more than the total amount of shelves that you're putting in. That's because if you think that you're putting in 2 shelves and you're just going to divide that by 2 and it's going to center it, it's not, because with 2 shelves, there's actually 3 gaps. So that's what you want to do. Another thing to keep in mind is the thickness of your shelf. So if you're going to measure off of the shelf, you want to deduct the thickness of the shelf. But for me, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to break it into thirds, and then I'm going to mount the mounting bracket directly on the line, and that should put me pretty much right on center. Now, in my situation, I have a light right here, and if I were to divide this into perfect 3, I would end up with my shelf a little bit too close to the light. So if you have something like that, I would recommend measuring up to the bottom of your light or whatever you have on the ceiling, and I have 41 inches, and dividing evenly off of that. So then you'll have even gaps off of the light. You know that your shelf will be low enough that you will clear it when you put the shelves in, and it'll be visually pleasing still. So let's go ahead, do our math, get some lines on the wall, and then we'll start drilling. I've got a 36-inch floating shelf for this like 50-inch bar area. I thought it would look really good where it's taking up most of the wall and you get a pretty large shelf, but still leaving a little bit of a reveal on either side. And like I said, I was going to divide that 41 into 3. It came out to roughly, under 14 inches. And that's kind of tight to the countertop. So what I'm going to do is I just get a little Expo marker because I could easily wipe that off the tile. You could use a Sharpie, but I like the Expos because they wipe off so easily, especially when you're just trying to get like the layout. So that would be 14. And I'm just gonna hold it roughly over that. And to me, that seems, it's not bad. It's a little low. Doesn't look bad, but I think what I'm gonna do in this situation is I'm gonna cheat it up just a little bit further towards the light. They do clear the light, and I'm gonna go up to 16 inches. I think it'll look a little bit better. So I'm gonna do the same thing. That's why I like my Expo. I just wipe it right off, and it doesn't stain your fingers like a Sharpie does. It's just a lot cleaner. So 16, 32. And again, I'm just trying to get a rough idea of how these shelves are gonna look mounted. That to me looks a little better that high. And I think that looks good also. Now that I've got my heights figured out, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna get my level and make a line where I've got my marks. Again, the Expo marker is great for this because I can wipe it off if I really just do not like it at the end. But I'm just gonna make a small mark across. And I made sure I didn't push it into my grout lines too, just in case I don't like it once I step back and look at it. There we are. I've got 2 lines with my Expo marker. Okay guys, so the very next thing I need to do is I need to find the center of my wall. Go ahead and put a tape on it. And I measure 46 inches on the money where the tile is. So I'm gonna go ahead with my Expo marker and I'm gonna put a mark in the dead center at 23 inches. So 23. I'm gonna make that a little bit taller so I could see it above the bracket. And then also right here, 23. So those are my centers. And then you're gonna have to find the center of your mounting bracket. So I'm gonna go ahead, measure that bracket. And it measures 24 3/8. So just a quick math lesson for you. Obviously half of 24 is 12, but if you're trying to find half of a fraction, all that you do is you double your denominator, which is your bottom number. So the top number will stay the same. You'll double your bottom number and then you'll have half of the fraction you started with. So half of 3/8 will be 3/16. So I'm gonna go ahead on my bracket and I'm gonna mark 12 and 3/16. And now that I've found the center, I'm just gonna line it up on the wall, take a look, and make sure that it's where I want it to be. Now that original line that I made for the centers of my shelves, I'm going to just go ahead and use that to line up the holes in the actual bracket. So now I got to decide where I'm going to put my anchors. And that's very simple. I'm just going to hold it on that center line that I did as best as I can now. And I'm going to mark a couple areas where I think it would be good to drill. So I'm going to put, I think 3 will be more than enough in this situation. So I'm going to mark 3 of them. And there'll be 1 in the center. So I've got 1 here, I've got 1 here, and I've got 1 here. Now I'm going to show you guys how to drill through the tile. Before I start drilling, guys, when you're drilling through tile, it does make a little bit of a mess. So I've just got one of my extra trash bags that's laying around, and I'm going to go ahead and tape this to the countertop to keep my cleanup as easy as possible, and also protect my countertops because they are bright white, and bright white shows everything. So let me just get this piece of tape in place, and let's go ahead and tape this bag where we want it. I know drilling through tile might be intimidating, but I want to show you guys that it can be done effectively and very easily. You just have to be careful when you're drilling, and you have to have the right tools. What I like to do is I have a little thing of water here, and what I'll do is I dip my drill bit in there and just get it wet to start my hole. And then I'll carry a little bottle of water, which I'm going to puncture the top of so I get a hole in it. Now I can squirt the wall with the water bottle as I'm drilling. Now you don't want to use the water bottle until you've already made a hole that is holding the bit, because you really want to have 2 hands on the drill, because when you're working these bits, you're going to start on an angle and then you're going to move it up. The first thing I'm going to do is just kind of eye out. If you look in your bit, there is a little bit of a hole in it, so you can get a little, you could peek through it and make sure you are where you want to be. Now I'm just going to dip my drill in the water, and then I'm going to actually follow the line, because I don't mind moving my hole up 1/8 of an inch just to make sure all my holes are even, like I was instructing you guys. And very slowly, I'm I'm gonna start to just make a little groove in the tile. Now I only stopped because I'm trying to explain to you guys what I'm doing, but for the rest of them, I'm gonna keep that working and I'll slowly roll my drill into the tile while I'm drilling, and that will ensure that my bit doesn't like run on me, because you could run and then scratch all these tile and you really don't want to do that. So let's go ahead and get this thing going. Now, if you don't use water the entire time that you're doing this, you can still get holes, but the bit will burn out very quick. So I went ahead and dipped it one more time. And I'm gonna go ahead and get it just a little deeper where I know that my bit isn't gonna run off on me. Now I'm gonna grab my bottle of water and I'll continue to get it wet as I'm drilling. Okay, I made it through my tile. Now I can just go ahead and grab a regular drill bit that's the same exact size as the hole that I put in there and go through my drywall. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna drill all these holes really quick while I have this bit in my drill. Now, just so you guys know, when I marked my holes, I made sure that they landed in a spot of the tile I was comfortable in drilling. So I would recommend the same thing to you, but I want you to see up close, the hole came out pretty clean. So they work really well, and I know now that the hole is big enough for me to put my toggle. Now I'm just gonna finish off drilling through the drywall. Make sure that your bit is smaller than the hole that you made, and make sure you go straight in and do it carefully, because if you bind up at all, you will chip the tile that you just drilled. So I'm just gonna go very slow and good. I have nothing behind me. Okay guys, I'm gonna do my best to display how these toggle anchors work. So you're just gonna slip it through the hole. Now that I'm in, you're gonna pull these two tabs till they're even. Now, if you look inside of there, you can see the hole where the screw has got to mount. You're just gonna grip the edges, and there's a little tab that slides, and you wanna get tight to the wall. If you look from the side, you can see it's got this little plastic piece that holds it so you don't lose the anchor that's in the wall. And then you just simply snap up, snap down, and your anchor's set. When you're putting the screw in the hole through the bracket, make sure it's threaded right, because if it's not threaded right and it's cross-threaded at all, it'll snap. So it's crucial that when you put your anchor in the wall that you get it to sit flat against the wall and it's not like on an angle at all, or you could have issues threading your screw in. So I'm gonna go ahead now and I'm gonna put these plastic anchors in the other two holes. I'm actually happy that I hit a metal stud here, because I know that I'm gonna have very strong bracket once I get this in. It looks like it's gonna be a little difficult to get in now. Let's see. I might need to drill that out. I need to drill that out just a little more. I'm actually happy that I hit a metal stud here, because I know that it's really gonna hold when I get this in. So I got my hole, I can see it, so I'm eyeing it before I'm pulling my tab, and then it's in, and we're all set. One more. One last note, when you're putting this anchor in the wall, you want it up and down, because the weight's gonna be pulling down. You don't want it side to side. My thought is that vertically in the wall is gonna give you more support when you're hanging something on it. So I always go vertical, I don't go horizontal. But it does grab either way, but I just feel more confident about this. Now I had 1/4" bolts. They do sell 3/16, but this is what I had on me. So I had to waller out my bracket just a little bit so that my bolt would easily fit through it. Just something to keep in mind if you're using a similar system. I was able to do it. It took a little more time than it should have, since I had to do that, but no big deal. But I wanted you guys to know so you have the right one. But I'm gonna go ahead and just thread these in, make sure that I hit exactly how I want. I don't tighten any of them until I get them all in. My level line has wiped off from everything, so I'm just gonna get these not tight. I'm just gonna get them to where they're ready to be tightened all the way. and they're keeping the bracket from slouching. And then I'm going to throw a level across these two and make sure that it's level before I tighten it all the way. So I've got my level. I'm just going to set that up there, and it looks like this side has to go up a little bit. Now, another thing to keep in mind when you're going on top of tile, don't over crank it. You could very easily crack a tile, and we don't want to do that. Okay, so I know I'm level. I'm going to go ahead and move this out of my way. Like I did on my first one, I'm just going to go ahead and get it tight. A few clicks, it's tight. I don't want to over crank. I don't want to chip the tile. And that's it. So it's going to line up the holes. And that's it, guys. Your first floating shelf is in. One final note, after you install your shelves, my shelves actually have a pre-drilled hole in the bottom for this tiny screw right here. And it's going to go in that hole. And there's a hole in the bracket also that's going to keep these shelves from falling off after they're installed. Now, before I start my second shelf, let me just show you what comes with the kit, because you might not need the anchors that I used. There's a little box that's snuck into this groove in the back. So they give you plenty of different options. You can use just regular little 1/4-inch anchors. I don't know how well that would last the test of time. That's why I get my own. And then they've got these little pinch type anchors that will open up in the middle when you screw them together. So I just wanted you guys to see the hardware that comes with it. I'm going to go ahead and save these because it's not that they won't come in handy for something else, but I just don't feel good about them holding the weight of a floating shelf personally. Do what you wish. If it's not hitting a stud or blocking, I would recommend those toggles. They're the way to go. I know they're going to hold the weight. Shelves are in. I put some over here above the sink also. I hope you guys found this instructional video helpful. Those are some tips and tricks on how I like to install my stuff. Like and subscribe for more. On my channel, I also have a full tutorial on the backsplash and the can lights you see in the kitchen. I also put this barn door in at the end of the hallway, and I did this slat wall fireplace. So I'm going to be posting not only tutorials on all the work that I'm doing as I'm doing it in real time, but you'll also be able to see the remodels from start to finish. So I hope you guys are enjoying all the content. If there's any request, please comment to me, reach out to me on Instagram. I have the same handle on Instagram. I'll be posting a lot of start to finish remodels. I got several big jobs coming up right here in Myrtle Beach. As you can see, I got the beautiful beach right behind me. Thanks again for watching, guys, and I'll catch you on the next one.